Hi guys, in this video we're going to be talking about polynomials, which starts on page 9 in your summer packet and goes on to page 10. These skills should also be review skills, but we need to make sure that we know how to do these so we can move ahead into harder problems. We're working only on these pages with multiplying polynomials, so we're going to use the FOIL method. FOIL method stands for first, outer, inner, last, but basically it's just the distributive property in multiplication. So if we look at number 1, we're just going to start there. We just multiply here. We're going to take the first terms and multiply, so x times x gives me x squared. I'm going to take the outside term, so x times 4 gives me 4x. The inside term, so 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 4 is 12, the last terms. Then I'm going to combine the middle terms because they're like terms, so I get x squared plus 7x plus 12. As you get better with this, we don't really need to write out all the steps. We can kind of do the multiplications in our head and then add them up together to just go all the way to the answer. And I encourage you, as you develop this skill, to go ahead and push yourself to try that. So we're going to try that here on the second one. We'll look at the first one and multiply together, and we get 2z squared. And then we look at the outside terms, and we get minus 4z. If we look at the inside terms, we get minus 1z. So minus 4z times plus minus 1z is going to give me minus 5z. I can go ahead and do that in my head, and then I multiply the outside, or the last terms, and I'm going to get plus 2. Now, if that's too fast, I'll just write the steps out the rest of the time, but I just wanted to show you that you can kind of work ahead once you get used to this pattern. Number 3, same thing. So first terms, 2r times 2r is 4r squared. It's also important to understand the exponent rules, guys. The coefficients, or the numbers in front, are going to get multiplied together, whereas the bases, so in this case the r and the r, they're going to get added together. So the exponents are going to be added. I'm going to keep the base. So I get 4r squared, then I'm going to take 2r times negative s, and I'm going to get minus 2rs. And then I'm going to multiply in the middle here, and I'm going to get positive 6 rs. And then the last terms multiply together to give me minus 3s squared. Now these are like terms because they're both rs, so I can add them. So I get 4r squared, and then I take 6rs minus 2rs. That gives me plus 4rs minus 3s squared, and I'm finished with number 3. If you look at number 4, this is 3c minus 2 parentheses squared. You don't want to just square each term. You want to write this out, because what this really means is 3c minus 2 times 3c minus 2, which then is a FOIL problem. A lot of times students want to just square the first term and square the second term, and they end up missing the middle term, which will then give you the wrong answer. So 3c times 3c is 9c squared. 3c times minus 2 is minus 6c. Same thing here, we get minus 6c, and then we get positive 4 at the end. If you just squared each term, you would get 9c squared and the plus 4, but you would forget the middle term, and that would cause you to get the incorrect answer. So we have to keep the middle term, combine them together, we get minus 12c, and we still have the plus 4 at the end. Similar here, anytime we see a binomial squared, we're going to write it out as an expression times itself, and then we do FOIL. So we get x times x, x squared, x times 2 is 2x, and we have 2x again, and then finally we have 4 at the end. Combine the middle terms and we get x squared plus 4x plus 4. So like I said, once you get used to this, it goes pretty fast. So we're going to do the same thing here. We have another squared, so we're going to multiply by itself. First terms give me 9x squared. Outside terms give me minus 6x. Middle terms give me the same thing. Last terms give me 4. Combine the middle terms, 9x squared minus 12x plus 4. If you look over here at number 7, we change this up a little bit. We have a difference of squares pattern. I say that because we have a plus and a minus, and you should have seen that in a previous video when we talked about factoring. So this time we're going to multiply instead of factor. And you'll notice what happens here is we get x times x gives me x squared. Then I get negative 9x. In the middle I get positive 9x. And then I get negative 81. So what you see happen is the middle terms with this pattern will always cancel out. So you don't even have to worry about writing that. You can save yourself the time and just multiply the first terms and multiply the last terms to get your answer. And as you see, it gives you a difference of squares, which we talked about earlier. Same pattern in number 8, so I'm just going to multiply the first two together, and I get 4x squared. Know that the middle terms are going to cancel, so I can just multiply the last terms to get minus 1. Recognizing these patterns will make you more efficient at math, and that's kind of why we study it, so we can try to recognize these patterns, which will then allow us to do harder and harder math. Same pattern in number 9, so first term is multiplied as 25x squared, last term is multiplied as minus 4. I'm done. 10, get a little harder, same idea though. Here we have a squared and a squared, so when I multiply them together, 5 times 2 gives me 10, but I have x to the 4th, because I add the exponents 2 plus 2. Still the same process then, multiply, I get minus 15x squared. In the middle I multiply and get minus 14x squared. Then I multiply negative 7 and negative 3 and get positive 21. Combine the like terms in the middle, get 10x to the 4th minus 29x squared plus 21, and we're finished. Okay, you look at 11 and 12, it's a little different, process is the same. So we're still doing FOIL, but we just need to make sure we distribute each of the terms on the left hand side to each of the terms on the right hand side. So my R goes to each of the 3 terms, so there's 3 multiplications. And then the 3 goes to each of the 3 terms, so there's 3 more multiplications. So we'll do the R first, so R times R squared is R to the 3rd. R times negative 2R is negative 2R squared. R times negative 1 is negative R. 3 times R squared is 3R squared. 3 times negative 2R is negative 6R. And then 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. Now we look for like terms, so we notice that the squared and the squared are alike. We keep the R to the 3rd. We combine negative 2 and positive 3, and we get positive 1. So this is going to be plus R squared. And we notice that the negative R and the negative 6R go together to give me minus 7R. And then we have the minus 3 at the end. And we're finished. Same idea for number 12. The 2x goes to each of the 3 terms, and the minus 3 goes to each of the 3 terms. So let's do the 2x first. So 2x times x squared is 2x to the 3rd. 2x times negative x is minus 2x squared. 2x times 4 is 8x. Then we distribute the 3 and we get minus 3x squared plus 3x. And then finally minus 12. Now we once again combine things, so we keep the 2x to the 3rd by itself. We combine the x squared, so we have minus 2 and minus 3 gives me minus 5x squared. Then we have the 8x, and the 3x gives you 11x. Then finally we have the minus 12, and we're finished. Once again, it's a very similar pattern each time. It's just about learning that pattern, looking for other patterns to make your life a little simpler, and then just following through, making sure that you're adding like terms, you're not missing anything, that you're keeping the negative and positive signs correct so that you don't make a mistake.